Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Parenting and You with me, Dr. Shefali. This is a super special episode with a super special guest. My daughter, Maia, is going to join us, and oh my goodness, she's going to be dropping a lot of dirt on all my parenting mistakes and all my insanities. And I know you're going to love hearing about Dr. Shefali's mistakes. But the reason I called her is because I wanted to learn more. I wanted to hear from a child's perspective on what are some of the things I do wrong, I still do wrong, and some of the things we can all do better at. You're going to love this episode. So Maia, thank you so much that you were willing to come and talk to us on this episode. And the reason I wanted you to come, my daughter, is because so many people out there in the world, they think that, oh, Dr. Shefali, she must be the most conscious parent. She must be amazing. And they put me on this pedestal. And I think it's such an unrealistic expectation they have of me, but also they think that there is such a thing as the most conscious parent. So I wanted you to come today to not only expose to people that Dr. Shefali is not a conscious parent, but more than that, to normalize the imperfections of human relationships, to expose that people can be really close to each other, but it can still be messy. And that life is not about having perfect relationships, but life is about trying to have connected relationships. And I think our relationship is such an emblem of imperfection, but also such a deep rooted sense of connection. And we both show up so hard, trying so hard to connect. And that is also a beautiful, conscious relationship. You know, Maia, you don't know this, but when you were born and in your first early years, I saw right away that I couldn't boss you over, that I couldn't dominate you because your nature is so fiery. In your essence, you're so in touch with who it is you are. And I realized early that if I dominated you and tried to control you, I would remove you from your essence. And you really are the reason, the inspiration why I do this work. If you were another kind of kid, like more, easily pliable or influenceable, and I got my way, I would never have to confront my ego. Because you did not back down, because you were outspoken, because you were so assertive, and you came with such a sense of inner knowing that you forced me to look at my ego, and you still force me to look at my ego. And that's when I realized, wow, we parents have this thing called the ego. And unless we look at our ego, we will not be able to truly connect to our children. So if anyone out there has been blessed by conscious parenting or what I teach, you are the one they should thank, because your nature, your essence, and who you are even today, because you still teach me every single day. You teach me about my ego, you teach me about consciousness, and you teach me about the power of connecting to a child's essence. So I thank you. I know I don't thank you enough, but you know how grateful I am. I often tell Maia, people don't know this, that if she never did anything more in her life, although I do want you to do a lot more, if you never did anything more in your life, you've already done so much for so many people because of who you are and what you've taught your mother. So I'm so grateful to you. So we're going to start off with my mistakes. The things I do consistently, Maia says, that annoy her, that turn her off, and that disconnect her from me. And even though I'm such a conscious parent, I make these mistakes, according to Maia, consistently. So Maia, what is one of the top things I do that really upset you, that make you feel unseen, invalidated, and unheard? Even though that's not my intention, I end up doing it anyway. So what would you say that is?
I think that when you and I find a disagreement, something that, we are in an intense moment, oftentimes I want to vent to you. I want to show you my most raw version of my feelings. I want to be open. I want you to receive it. I want you to be open. I want you to hear. I want you to understand it. And not in a selfish way, but I want me, if I feel like I'm the recipient, I want to feel like I'm the one who's being resolved through your openness and understanding. And so sometimes I know you and I can be arguing or in a heated moment, and oftentimes your first level of defense is to say, but what about everything that I do for you? And what about everything that, I sacrifice my time and I always focus on you. You're my number one priority. Look at everything I do for you. And while I appreciate that and I acknowledge that separately, emphasis on the separately, I want to keep that separate from the argument we're having right now, because it takes the attention and resolvement away from me. It's a moment of somehow validating you, but that creates a big disconnect because that's not what our conversation is about. I would love to talk to you tomorrow about everything that you do for me and about how much I see it and notice it and appreciate it and understand that, you sacrifice a lot for me and etc. But I think oftentimes that being one of the first things you say, whether it's in person or over text in a big paragraph, I've tuned out of it because now we've totally shifted directions.
Yes. So what you're saying is that when you come to me or a child comes to their parent with their need, with their emotional hunger, the parent needs to connect to that. And let me tell you, Maya, I teach this all the time, okay? And I'm so not good at it. So every parent out there, you can feel good about your mistakes because like my daughter is saying, even I can't do it. And do you know why that happens, Maya? Do you know why I go into my defense? Can you understand why that happens?
I mean, I assume that you feel attacked in some way and you are, confident that you do so much for me and you want to just lay that out there.
Yeah.
And say, I do one thing wrong, but look at all the 100 things I do right.
Right. So in those moments, instead of connecting to you and just having the confidence that it's okay, if I'm confident about my parenting, I shouldn't need my child's validation. But let me tell you, me and most of my friends and all parents, we're so hungry, desperate beggars, okay, for our children's validation. And our ego is so big that we cannot even hear a complaint, right? And that is where we mess up. So when you come to me with your need, I hear you're a bad mother. You're a bad mother. And that makes me feel so nervous that I'm failing because my biggest desire in life is to be crowned best mother. Okay, really. I only want that prize. When I die, I want on my epitaph, best mother, right? And most of us live for that validation. But that's where we go wrong because in our hunger for our validation, I don't validate you. And Maya, talk about how you've taught me. You literally had to drill it into me. You've literally highlighted texts and underlined where I've gone wrong because I was not seeing it. And you have invested so much energy in our relationship. And I'm so grateful because no other child would even care. And even that I took as an attack, like, oh, all she cares about is to attack me because I entered my little child self. And then you taught me that. You said, Mom, you're taking care of your little girl right now, and you're not taking care of me. So teach people how you taught me how to validate a child, because I would start out with a defense. I would start out with an explanation to make myself look better. And you taught me how to do it differently. Do you remember? And can you help others?
I think when obviously I'm at school and you're at home and we're texting and it's already lacking that verbal communication, when something very defensive that comes from you arises in conversation where you list things, whatever actions or moments it is, I pause the conversation. I very distinctly say, okay, stop. Reread what you wrote. And I literally make you reread and I say, do you see how many times you said the word me? And like turn it into, but you to me. When in reality, it should be, no. You, my mother, to me, the
Yes.
child who's on the, resulting end of something that you did to me. And I don't just throw it under the rug. I don't put it in the back of my head and say, I'm going to talk to my mom about it when the conversation is over. I do it in the moment so that you're hyper aware of it. It doesn't just go in one ear and out the other, because I don't want to add on things throughout the conversation that is then going to lose that point. So I think over text, it's important. And I mean, if everyone is willing to pause the conversation, really reread and go through every single word you said, that's a defense. And I show you how you end up validating yourself instead of me.
Yeah, and that was such a revelation to me, because if you had not shown me in real time what I was doing that was so cunning, my ego was so cunning. So you would say, Mom, why did you do that? That really hurt me. That really upset me, right? And I would just come into saying, Maia, but I only did that because I was sweating, or I was hot, or I didn't know, or I didn't realize, or I forgot. I'm thinking I'm just explaining. But in that interaction, I'm not hearing, you are in pain right now. You are hurt by something. And all you need is me to acknowledge, oh my God, I'm so sorry, my bad. I won't do it again. But instead, I go in this spinning thing of defense. And I think so many parents need to realize that when a child comes to you with a pain point, or any human being, we just need to hear that this person is struggling, and we need to own our part in it. But we feel so ashamed of failing that we want the other to validate us. And like you said, then we end up validating ourselves instead of validating the other. So Maia, what's another way in which I consistently make you feel unseen or invalidated?
Whether it's subconscious or knowingly, I think that you oftentimes project your anxieties and worries and concerns onto me when you don't have to, because I I'm my own person, and I know what I want to do, let's say post-grad, now that I'm a graduating senior. If I'm not 1000% sure in what I want to do or where I want to go next, you having a complete opposite story of me, immigrating alone to the United States at 21 years old, especially now at this age, you see this direct mirror, because you tell me, when I was 21, I came here all by myself. I had a dream, I had a passion, I had a drive, I knew what I wanted to do. And then I'm here, who's been born in America all her life. I didn't move anywhere at 21 by myself. I don't know what I want to do. And I think because it's such a direct comparison, and it's such a contrast to your life and what your experience was at our same age, I think that you foster a lot of anxiety over that, but it's not something that you've learned to contain and work out by yourself and tell yourself, it's my problem, it's not my child's problem. You kind of make it my problem, and it then gives me some anxiety and me concern and me worry when I just need to look around and say, I'm okay. People figure out their lives at their own pace, at their own time, but because it's such differing views, I think you need to verbalize your anxieties and kind of take control of aspects of my life in that way.
Oh my goodness, Maia, you are just dropping truth bombs. So let's just take a pause here, and we're going to come back with this amazing conversation. Welcome back, everyone, to a very special episode with a super special guest, my daughter, Maia. Oh my goodness, I never realized just till this moment that my being an immigrant and coming to this country at exactly your age now, was such an actual trauma for me, right? And the way I managed it was to be super independent, super successful, super achieving, because I had to make sense of this big decision I had made to leave my country. I missed my family, but I had to kind of justify it that, even though I've left them, I'm going to make up and compensate by doing some grand thing with my life. And I didn't realize that was actually coming from a compensation and a trauma. And because I was in so much control at that age, determined to be successful in America, that I was putting that on you. I didn't even realize that I've been holding that much anxiety. And you, poor thing, have been receiving it. I mean, I remember we just recently went on a walk and I went on and on about what I was doing at 21. And I'm thinking I'm inspiring. I'm thinking I'm telling you, hey, look, you can do it. But I'm not realizing that I'm putting pressure on you, because really it was a traumatic time for me. And I did great, but I compensated a lot for the things that I was missing. And you don't have to do that. You're in a privileged position. So, wow, I just got that. And I want everyone listening to realize that even though I teach how we shouldn't project our anxieties, look how they sneak up on us. Like, I didn't realize till this moment how I was doing it to you. And this is what I teach, Maia, right? That our patterns keep repeating and our children are our mirrors. I've never done this before. I've never been a mother of a 22-year-old before. I didn't even know I had this issue from my immigrant background till this moment. And this is why our children are our greatest teachers. You teach me in the moment. The sad thing for you is you have to deal with the fallout of my mistakes. And this is the nature of parent-child dynamics, right? Every child can teach their parents. I just want you to know I'm willing to learn, but it doesn't take away the fact that you still have to deal with all my unresolved stuff. This is just the nature of being a child, right? And when you grow up and you become a mother, you're going to dump your stuff on your child, and hopefully you will learn as well. So what would you say are some of the positive things? Please say something positive that you think other parents can learn. Maybe there's something good I did or something particular that I do that has worked that maybe other parents can adopt as well.
I think even us having this conversation now, where so many people can hear, is a testament to probably the number one thing I appreciate about our relationship that only you have caused and, planted a seed of since I was so little, because we wouldn't be here if you didn't allow our relationship to be on this continuous, open, growing path ever since I was little. I've always been able to communicate with you extremely openly. You've always made me feel like you're equal. It's not, a relationship where I need to feel like I need to hide stuff or I need to be worried about what my mom is going to think. It's more like I'm venting and expressing, and I'm frustrated and I'm happy and I'm emotional with a sister. And I think, you allowing our relationship to be that way, it wouldn't be this way if you didn't have that mindset from the beginning. If you made our relationship this open, communicative relationship only 2 years ago, we would be starting all of these conversations 5 years from now. It doesn't happen in 1 second. So I think you allowing this to be a safe home, a safe space, safe conversation. Every single conversation we have, I feel like I could tell you how I truly feel without judgment, without fear, without worry that I'm going to be punished. Me saying I've never been punished in my life is not to say that I'm privileged and you have no self-control, but it's to show that why would you punish a sister, someone that, is equal to you? Let's talk about it and let's communicate. This is either a good thing or a bad thing to people. To me, it's an amazing thing that you never give up. You, just same as me, would rather spend 4 hours talking on your bed, in your bedroom, whether it's crying or angry or whatever it is, to resolve it that same night than to let it bleed onto the next day. That is something that you and I have always done. We've always prioritized figuring it out, hugging and ending in, an embrace and a loving space by that same end of the night. And that's not something that I've pioneered in our relationship. I've felt that way since as long as I can remember. I've always, whether you think that's a good or bad thing, been so open with you. And, that's something that you've allowed to happen since I was extremely little.
I'm so grateful you say that, because many times I have wondered, about my openness with you, because I haven't punished you ever. But sometimes I feel like, did I give her too much power? Did I have, you and I laugh about my lack of boundaries with you. I cannot punish you. It's like, even when you have broken a rule or sometimes I've caught you deep smack in a lie, right? But I've always tried to understand that you don't mean to do that and you mean well. But many of my, family around me or other parents, remember we had a neighbor once and she told me that I need to have more control over you. Do you feel like, and you can be honest about it, do you feel that sometimes I should have had more boundaries with you and been a little more strict with you?
Well, I think that's situational because for me, and these are basic parenting, pillars that punishing your child from an early age, having a very restrictive relationship with them causes them to then do bad things and hide and lie and go behind the parent's back. And, those are basic, like foundational parenting ideals. But I think that being kind and open was important to me because and I'm also an only child, which some of your viewers, may relate to only having one child. If I was punished or if I had stricter boundaries around me, that would definitely have led me to feel more isolated. And because who would I have to talk to? If I did something that you disagreed with and you put me in a timeout, and I had to be in my room for the next hour to just think about what I did. Because that's oftentimes what parents say. Go there and think about what you did. How could I do that without verbalizing it with the person I've engaged in whatever, with?
Right.
If I was just alone to my own thoughts, if I imagine that your boundaries were go think about what you did, send me a text about what you should have done differently, or, shaming me, that would cause me to learn to not verbalize anything. And that would mess me up in the future for sure. I would not be able to talk openly like this and feel comfortable and safe with my mom, who should be everyone's sister to their daughter, or same with fathers and sons.
And I also made it a point to not punish you because you were an indomitable spirit. And I knew that controlling someone who needs to be in control, like you were a child who came ready to be in control, that child would shrivel up and die. The best thing about you is that you need to be in control of yourself. Even though it annoys me, even though it's difficult to parent, it's very difficult to parent such a strong-willed child like you. Really, it is. But that is actually the best thing about you, that you are dominating over yourself, that you are self-governing, that you are in control of yourself. And to take away that would have felt like such a travesty to me. And even though it was difficult for me and people got upset with me, even your father gets upset with me that I'm so easy with you, I know that preserving your own self-control was of acute importance. And I think that's why you're such a stable person today, because you were allowed to be in control of your own inner dominion. You were allowed to be in control of your own life. And as much as I project and I try to control you, you don't let me. This is the thing. I can try whatever I want. Your beauty is that you don't let me. And that's why I'm such a good teacher for other people, because you've taught me that it doesn't work. Control just doesn't work. What works is trying to be connected, trying to show up in an attuned way, in a validating way. That is what children respond to. Every single time I come to you with control, I make it worse. I make it a disaster, really. And you teach me that, Mom, let go of your defenses, show up from your heart, just stop being the perfect mom, just stop talking about yourself and your ego. I will open up. And every time I come to you from my heart, you're such a beautiful person, but I think all children are, you just forgive me, but I have to come to you right. If I come to you with a tinge of ego, you'll shut me out again, but that's how you've trained me. You've taught me, come the right way, Mom, and I'll forgive you. And, I think parents get so scared that their children will not forgive them. But what I've learned from you, and I'm shocked each time, you really do move on. Children do move on. Children do want to forgive their parents. And they just need to feel like the parent is on their team and not coming from ego. Wouldn't you say that that is one of the biggest things that you appreciate perhaps out of conscious parenting, is that I don't come to you as if I'm your boss. I teach other parents that that hierarchical approach ruins relationships. What would you say about that?
Yeah, your major, spotlight on the word ego, the concept of ego, the understanding, the relationship, the dynamics of this big, intangible, yet extremely powerful thing, ego, I think is something that you have pinpointed with a word and a theory and a solution that, parents and children would never have projected or on my behalf called out, if I had no idea what it was. So because ego's tied into, if you came to me like I am your mom and you better respect me on a level that is different to a respect you should expect, right? Because we are not the same. That is like ego, right? And so, with conscious parenting, to be on the same level as your child, not in a way that you're going down to them and maybe you're like, oh, it's okay, you're right, validating in a infantilizing way or and it's not in a patronizing way. It's in a really genuine, heavy, respectful way. Like I feel like I can talk to you so much clearer, and I feel like you will understand me so much more if you come to me and strip yourself of all ego. Like, can you just strip everything off of that and just be yourself? And can we just talk heart to heart, person to person, mother to daughter in a way that's equal, stripped of all ego?
You keep reminding me, and the ego is so sneaky that I think I'm doing it and I'm so not doing it. And I need you to be my mirror. I hate it, right? Many times I'm like, damn, she's like on me. And when will she just love me and just appreciate me? I just want the good stuff. But I do, on a deep level, think about what you say to me. Even though in the moment I'm upset that you're such a mirror to me. Who wants a mirror 24/7, right? But deep down, I reflect. I always come back. I always, go, okay, you know what? You were right. I always admit to my faults, because not just because I'm trying to be amazing, it's because you're so clear and such a mirror to me that I have no choice. And I wish this for every parent. Of course, it takes a lot of courage, but I wish for every parent that they have a child like you that is fearless and that is so transparent, that they are such a mirror for the parent to evolve. You have raised me up so much. It's difficult. I won't deny that it's difficult to keep seeing my mistakes, but I would rather see the mistakes than keep making them, right? So one more question I have for you. I've raised you, I think, very non-traditionally. A, without punishments, B, without really a lot of like rules and regulations. But also I've taught you, I think, vehemently to defy cultural institutions. I make you question religion. I make you question patriotism. I make you question country, identity, how to be. I make you question tradition. I make you question politics and really be critical about just things that most people take for granted or automatic. How have you felt around that? And how have you come to understand those teachings? Because I'm sure at some points I've been uncomfortable for you because I'm so out of the traditional. I don't like following things blindly. So how has that been for you?
I think when I was little, we lived in Queens, New York, and you put me in a Jewish private school, and that was all my surrounding. I still have my friends from there. Those were extremely formative moments of my life. And you took me out of there. You moved me onto Long Island, putting me in different environments, making me volunteer in Guatemala, making me volunteer in children's hospitals, me being exposed to so many different, religions, people, cultures, etc., has allowed me to grow up and have this nuanced worldview, of everything around me. And I deeply appreciate that you haven't, imposed any particular perspective on me. It's allowed me to form my own perspective, and I'm deeply in touch with that, and I get to have nice intellectual conversations with people where we get to disagree. And the fact that I'm so comfortable and open, doing that has shown that you have really not pushed me to fall into any of your perspectives, or it's also caused me to not have any fear if I disagree with you, or if I disagree with anyone. I'm not ashamed. I don't feel like I have to fall in line. I could play devil's advocate, and I feel great about that because you haven't made me feel like I should be ashamed if I don't disagree with an overarching, perspective of the world or of my environment.
Yeah. And many times you challenge me, and we will argue about things that are happening in the world. And it makes me uncomfortable. Of course, I don't like it that you disagree with me, but I like that you have the freedom and the mental capacity and the intellectual awareness to go against me, and that you can follow your own way. But the most important thing is that I've seen, and you've challenged your father, you've challenged me, you've challenged your friends, that you're not afraid to see the other side. And that's really all I wanted to give you, is not my way necessarily, but the capacity to always play devil's advocate and critically examine what culture is telling you, and not be a robot to just blindly follow. And when I see you sometimes challenging your friends or saying, hey, but not everyone believes that, or dad, the other day you said it to your father, I secretly was so happy because you are not afraid to show the other side. And that's all I wanted you to have. So I love that about you. And I just wanted to say, before we end, that your strong-willed nature is what has made me a better parent, because every parent out there who has a strong-willed child comes to me saying, I don't know how to handle this child. They are difficult. You are a difficult child to control, a difficult child to influence, if the parent has that agenda, right? And that's why conscious parenting is so valuable, especially for all the strong-willed children out there, because it teaches parents that your goal is not to influence and control a strong-willed child or any child. Your goal is to find what their essence is and attune and connect to that. And no one has taught me more empathy for strong-willed children than my own strong-willed daughter. So I want to just say thank you for being strong-willed, for believing in yourself, even when I have invalidated you, I have hurt you, I have tried to doubt you, I have created great insecurity in you. I know how much I have projected my own bullshit on you, and yet you have managed to follow your North Star, thank goodness, despite me. I never want you to feel like, oh, my mother is Dr. Shefali, or she's so amazing and the world thinks she's all that, because you know how ordinary I am, how fallible I am, how imperfect I am. And I want you to know that part of me. I for years, I didn't even tell you who I was in the world, because I never wanted you to ever feel a complex, and I so admire that you don't even care about that part of me, because that's the way I want it. I want you to see my humanity, my imperfection, and forgive me constantly, because I'm constantly messing up. And I feel bad that, in many ways you have to deal with me, but that also gives me humility to show up again and again. And I want every parent out there listening, the reason I brought my daughter here is to expose the utter vulnerability it takes to be a conscious parent. We cannot be a conscious parent if we're not willing to be humble pie, to be puddle on the floor in front of our children, and to be deeply vulnerable. How many times I tell you, Maya, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I've hurt you. I've messed it up, because that is conscious parenting. See, people think conscious parenting is some perfection. They think that I should have a daughter who says only amazing things about me, and that means I'm a conscious parent. Conscious parenting is about this connection and this safety that allows a child to say, Mom, you are messing up. And the fact that you feel free to tell me this, other people will look at it as disrespectful. I look at it as, wow, I gave my daughter the ultimate empowerment, because she knows she is separate from me. She knows she doesn't need to carry my bullshit, my burdens, my anxieties, and she can stand on her own. And she knows early that her mother is a total mess. That is a gift. I know it sounds paradoxical, but that is liberation for a child, that they don't have to be bound by their parents' opinions, dictates, or anxieties. So you can see yourself as a separate person. How many times I tell you, Maya, don't care about what dad and I think or feel or how we are behaving. You are free. So fly. And that to me is the essence of conscious parenting. I cannot be healed fully. I cannot be perfect by any measure. And I cannot undo all my childhood baggage in this lifetime. All I can tell you is you are not me. Don't be bound by my BS. Go fly. Be your own person. And you do. I don't even have to really tell you. So thank you for being my teacher. I mean, I could cry. Thank you for forgiving me for all my mistakes that I make every single day, and for still accepting me and wanting me. I'm just shocked that you still want to be with me the way you do. So that's all I have. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Ew, don't cry.
So thank you all for listening to this heartfelt conversation between my beautiful daughter and myself, and for holding space. And I hope you won't judge me too much after this. And I will see you on the next episode of Parenting and You with me, Dr. Shefali. Parenting and You with Dr. Shefali is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical, psychological, psychotherapeutic, coaching, healthcare, or other qualified professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment.